Welcome back to Mechanical Engineering Made Simple. I think every engineer, every product developer really dreams of that one big breakthrough innovation.
Oh, absolutely. The game changer.
The one that just completely changes the market. Think of the Post-it note. We all know that story, right? A failed experiment that somehow becomes this massive global success.
The classic example.
But the secret to that kind of, unique original discovery, it isn't just about the formulas or the material science. It's about something totally invisible.
It's the knowledge.
Exactly, the tacit knowledge, that gut feeling, the experience that's just held deep inside your people.
Precisely. And that invisible expertise is where your true competitive advantage lives. But the thing is, it's fragile. It's so hard to manage.
So that's our mission for this deep dive.
Right. We want to explore the organizational mechanics you need to actually tap into that hidden gold mine. We're going to look at two key components. First, the internal foundations you have to have in place.
Meaning the right culture and a clear vision.
A clear innovation vision, yes. And second, we'll get into the practical tools and frameworks, things like communities of practice and the virtuality pyramid, which is fascinating.
Okay, so tools that turn that internal expertise into something you can actually take to market?
Exactly. Whether you're working with your internal team or even with external partners.
All right, let's get into it. So where do we start?
We have to start with definitions, just to get everyone on the same page. Data, information, and knowledge. They are not the same thing.
Okay.
Data is just your raw facts, the chemical specifications you recorded, the material limits from a stress test, just numbers on a page, really.
That's the easy part. So information is when you organize that data, like a graph showing how pressure correlates with the rate of material removal.
You got it.
But wait, here's a question. Is a massive database of, say, chemical properties, is that knowledge or is it just a whole lot of information?
It's still just information. Knowledge is the human part of the equation. It's information combined with experience, with context, with reflection.
So it increases your capacity to act.
That's the definition.
Yeah?
A massive database doesn't act. A person does, using that database as a tool, but informed by all their past failures and successes.
In this knowledge, it takes two very different forms. We all know explicit knowledge. That's the easy stuff.
The stuff you can write down.
Yep. It's codified, it's structured. You can transfer it in a manual, a blueprint, or a spec sheet. Simple.
But then you have tacit knowledge. And this is the hard stuff we're really hunting for today. It's context-specific, it's personal, it's derived from a lifetime of practice and perception.
It's almost subconscious.
It often is. It's muscle memory or a deeply ingrained hunch. And because of that, language just isn't the best way to share it. That's why transferring tacit knowledge almost always requires, close physical proximity, shared experience.
The Post-it note story is a perfect example of this, isn't it? Dr. Spencer Silver at 3M, he's testing this new adhesive. The data was just the measured adhesive force. The knowledge moment, the breakthrough, was him realizing that the monomer wasn't just weakly adhesive. It was highly cohesive.
It stuck to itself.
It stuck to itself. That was the realization. That was the tacit insight that led to the repositionable note.
And this next story, I love this one, it shows just how hard it is to convert that kind of realization into an explicit process.
Okay.
So Matsushita Electric was developing an automatic bread-making machine, their first prototypes. Complete failures. They just couldn't replicate the taste of bread made by a master baker.
So they studied everything, I assume, the ingredients, the temperature, the timing.
Everything. But they couldn't find any technical difference. So what do?
You do what any good engineer does. You become an apprentice. You go watch the expert.
Exactly. They watched the master baker. And after days of observation, one of the team members finally noticed this tiny, almost subconscious action.
What was it?
The baker wasn't just kneading the dough. He was applying a subtle, almost invisible twisting motion as he did it.
Ah, there it is.
That twist was the master baker's tacit knowledge. And it was only through that close shared experience that the team could finally convert that invisible action into an explicit, repeatable process for their machine.
That's incredible. So you can have the best idea in the world, but if it's stuck in one person's head, it's worthless.
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
Breakthroughs, like Silver's discovery or the baker's twist, they're often unpredictable, even accidental.
Right.
So if a deep discovery is born from one person's tacit knowledge, it might have zero value to the company unless it's guided by a common innovation vision.
Okay, so the vision is the guardrail. It keeps the accidental discoveries pointed in a useful direction.
It's the organizational guidance system. Breakthroughs happen at this crucial sweet spot, the intersection of one, unmet or even unarticulated customer
The
needs,
Holy Grail.
and two, the company's shared vision of the future. The Sony Walkman is the classic case, right?
Right.
Customers didn't know they needed portable music. Sony showed them the vision.
So the vision needs to be more than just a mission statement on the wall.
Oh, much more. A robust knowledge vision has to have attributes like real commitment from senior management, but also what the sources call generativity.
Generativity.
Meaning it has to provide new thinking, organizational imagination, has to push people toward strategically important but maybe unmapped territories.
And if you don't have a flexible vision, you end up like digital equipment.
A perfect cautionary tale. Their vision for the mini-computer market was wildly successful.
For a while.
For a while. But that same vision, which became rigid, totally blinded them to the rise of the personal computer.
Yeah.
They just couldn't adapt. Their inability to shift focus was a major cause of their failure. They got stuck.
So an effective project vision needs, what? 3 things.
It really boils down to 3. It needs clarity, an easy-to-understand target. It needs support, real commitment from the whole organization. And critically, it needs stability.
Because if the target keeps moving, your teams can't mobilize that deep knowledge.
They won't even try. They'll stop committing to that long-term discovery process.
Okay, so we have the roadmap, the vision. But even with that guide rail, if people don't feel safe, they won't share their slight twist moments. They won't share their hunches.
It's a highly fragile process. That's how it's described. Because you're publicly exposing your beliefs, your judgments. You're making yourself vulnerable.
This is why you can't have innovation without trust.
Absolutely not. And you have to build an environment based on what the sources call care. This breaks down into 5 core factors. First is mutual trust.
Believing your colleagues won't make you look stupid for a crazy idea.
Exactly. Second is active empathy. Really trying to walk in the other person's shoes.
Yeah.
Sharing their uncertainty in that moment of risk.
Okay, that makes sense.
Third, access to help. The experts in the organization have to be genuinely willing to mentor and assist people.
And fourth, lenience in judgment. I can see that. I mean, imagine an engineer shares a totally wild idea in a meeting and someone just laughs.
It's over. That shuts down creative exchange for weeks.
And the last one is courage.
Yes, individuals have to feel safe enough to experiment and give feedback, even if that feedback is, disruptive to how things are normally done.
It's fascinating. One of the biggest barriers to this is just internal inequality.
Yes. The medical field is a great example. Nurses often have this deep, tacit knowledge from just hours and hours of bedside observation.
But they might hesitate to suggest something to a physician.
Right, because the physician's judgment is based on different, often more explicit data, like blood tests. When one knowledge base is seen as more valuable than another, you create an instant barrier to collaboration.
So this culture of care has to start at the top.
It has to. If trust is low, collaboration just won't happen. Your incentive systems need to reward building relationships, not just fostering internal competition.
If people are worried about job security, that caring environment is the first thing to go.
Instantly.
All right, so once you have the culture and the vision, how do you actually operationalize the sharing of this fragile knowledge?
You need tools. And the most effective internal tool is what's known as communities of practice, or COPs.
Okay, what are those exactly?
They're basically informal groups bound together by a shared expertise and, importantly, a shared passion. Think a group of geologists or a team focused only on battery chemistry.
And these COPs provide that rich socialization experience you need for the tacit knowledge transfer.
That's the whole point. The core insight here is that relationships, not documents, form the rails along which knowledge passes. The knowledge flows through those social bonds.
So what does the structure look like?
Well, they have to be voluntary. And they need to be focused on issues that are both important to the business and, crucially, that align with the members' passion.
And the innovation comes from the edges, right?
Often, yes. The sources point to Daimler-Chrysler, where they intentionally mixed people from marketing and engineering into a single COP, just to force that boundary-crossing perspective.
Okay, so COPs are for deep socialization. What complements that?
You need organizational tools, like an innovation intranet, something like P&G's Innovation Net. These systems are designed to maximize connections, both people to people and people to information.
So, practically speaking, what do they do?
They can provide team spaces for sharing documents and discussions. They can collect periodic reports, like trip reports or experiment summaries, into one central place.
And those reports become so valuable over time, they act like a curriculum vitae for everyone's expertise.
Exactly. So if you have a problem, you can use the system to quickly find out who knows what based on what they've actually done. It saves countless hours of searching.
Now, you mentioned a prerequisite tool for this.
A quick but crucial one, competence and capability mapping. You have to know what you're good at and what you need to be good at.
Why is that so important?
Because that mapping ensures your cops are focused on creating knowledge that meets the Vion criteria.
Valuable, rare, immutable, and non-substitutable. The recipe for competitive advantage.
Get that wrong, and you suffer from what's called core rigidity. Look at Polaroid. They stuck rigidly to their expertise in film chemistry.
And completely missed the boat on digital photography.
They failed to develop the new competencies they needed. They mapped their strengths poorly and poured resources into knowledge that was becoming obsolete.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit. Let's talk about new product development teams, NPD.
Critical area.
The reality for most of us listening is that our teams are geographically dispersed. We're relying on email, Slack, Teams, all of it.
Right.
So we have to challenge this idea of a purely virtual team. It's not an on or off switch, it's really a continuum.
And if you're managing one of these NPD teams, you need a way to diagnose where your team sits on that continuum. That's where the virtuality fingerprint comes in.
Fingerprint, okay, so it's a diagnostic tool.
It is. It measures a team's position along 3 key dimensions. First, team member proximity. Are you all in one room or spread across the globe?
Second would be communication.
Communication modality, yes. From face-to-face, which is synchronous and personal, all the way to email, which is asynchronous and impersonal.
And the third?
Team task structure. Is the task simple and well-established, or is it complex and emergent where you're figuring it out as you go?
And what we learned from analyzing these teams is that being at the strict extremes of any of these dimensions is actually bad for creativity.
It is. High proximity sounds great, but it can lead to constant distractions, or even worse, groupthink.
Where nobody wants to rock the boat.
And on the other end, high dispersion, relying only on asynchronous emails, that just stalls complex creative tasks completely. The back and forth is too slow to build any shared understanding.
So the key isn't one or the other, the key is
Flexibility. The highest creativity is found in flexibility. A team that can flexibly move between being co-located and dispersed, or between a video call and a simple email. They get the benefits of both worlds.
So how do you visualize that potential for flexibility?
We use a model called the virtuality pyramid. You assign a flexibility score from 1 for rigid to 3 for highly flexible to each of those 3 dimensions: proximity, communication, and task structure.
And those 3 scores form the base of a triangle.
Exactly. And the size and stability of that base determine the team's maximum creative potential, which you can visualize as the height of a mast supported by that base.
So a perfect 3-3-3 flexibility configuration that supports the highest creativity.
It does. But if you have an unbalanced setup, say 1-3-3, where the task structure score is a 1.
Meaning the leader is micromanaging every single step.
Right. Then the pyramid base is lopsided and it just tips over. That rigid task structure destroys creativity no matter how well you manage the other 2 dimensions. The team has no autonomy.
So a manager has to actively manage these things.
You have to. You expand or contract the flexibility based on what the project needs at that specific stage.
So for proximity management, if your team needs to brainstorm new ideas, you need high flexibility.
So you intentionally start with high proximity. You co-locate them to build trust and shared understanding. Then, as tasks get more specialized, you can gradually disperse the team. We saw this in the household electronics industry.
And for communication management.
You use face-to-face or synchronous contact for the really complex, multidisciplinary decisions, the stuff that needs real-time feedback and empathy. But you save the asynchronous electronic stuff for simple individual matters. Flexibility is knowing when to switch tools.
And finally, task structure management. This is all about leadership.
It is. The leader shouldn't strictly coordinate every task that's low flexibility. But they also can't be completely hands-off.
That's just chaos.
Right. Instead, you design the task somewhat. You set the clear boundaries, the target. But you give the team considerable leeway and autonomy to define its own process and structure. That's what supports creativity the most.
Okay, last big topic. Let's talk about looking outside the company. External collaboration.
Yes, co-development. Working across corporate boundaries. It's crucial today.
Why so critical?
Well, smaller companies use it to get to market faster by leveraging a partner's expertise. And larger companies, like Millennium Pharmaceuticals, use it for focused innovation.
So they partner for the later stage drug development.
so they can keep their internal teams focused entirely on that core early-stage drug discovery.
But picking the right partner has to be incredibly difficult.
It is. We can look at Cisco Systems for some guidance here. They use 4 non-negotiable criteria. The first 3 are common sense: short-term returns, clear long-term potential, and a shared vision.
But the fourth one is the most important.
By far, a shared destiny of cooperation, not competition. That shared destiny is the only thing that ensures you can actually trust each other enough to share intellectual property.
Okay, so you found the partner. How do you structure the relationship?
With 2 key documents. First is the business contract. This is the legally binding one. It manages risk. It covers the big legal issues like funding, penalties, IP
So
ownership,
it's the what if this all goes wrong document.
pretty much. The second document is the less formal Joint Development Agreement, or JDA.
And this is the how we work together today document.
Exactly. It's focused on project logistics and the rules of engagement. How will the teams communicate? What are the measures? The day-to-day targets. It defines the actual collaboration.
And this needs management at 2 levels.
Yes, you need to manage the individual partnership, of course. But you also have to manage your entire partner portfolio, making sure the overall mix of partnerships is actually aligned with your company's long-term strategic goals.
Okay, let's bring this all together.
I think the path to breakthrough innovation really requires a dual focus. Internally, you have to cultivate that safe, collaborative culture supported by a clear vision to encourage sharing that fragile, tacit knowledge.
And then externally.
Externally, you need structured processes. Things like the virtuality pyramid to diagnose your own team's dynamics and formal agreements for your co-development partners. You have to leverage both internal expertise and external capacity.
So here is a final thought for you to chew on. If flexibility is the key to maximizing creativity in your teams, how often are you actually reviewing your own project structure?
Good question.
I mean, from your physical location to your communication methods, are you purposely changing them to avoid that creativity-killing trap of being stuck at one rigid extreme?
Something to think about.
And if you haven't already, get over to our YouTube channel, Mechanical Engineering Made Simple, where we post hands-on how-to videos, visual breakdowns, and practical engineering walkthroughs you can actually use. A family that solves together stays together.